Hello and welcome to Investing Confidential. It's been a while, I know. Apologize for those who have missed my videos, and it's probably not many of you because I almost gave up because of the lack of interest. But I think I've been putting out really good information. And today I want to talk about these numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, Census Bureau numbers. If you've watched my videos before, you can look back, I've been on for over a year. I've been talking how ridiculous these numbers, how they're worthless, and they are worthless. And not a fan of what Trump did per se, but I think what's good is that you're going to get someone in there who's going to start looking at how these numbers are put together, and it's absurd. And maybe we'll get a change, and the change will be positive, because unfortunately, over the last 10 to 15 years, the surveys they've been putting out, no one's bothering. I don't know how the information comes from such a small amount of people that it is worthless information. I don't think it's manipulated. I just think the process that the way these numbers are put together has been faulty for some time. They haven't, let's say, gone into the 22nd or 21st, whatever you want to call it. They're back in the old days from the 70s and 80s. I mean, the bottom line is, if you go through in the data, and it's very, very difficult to find, but if you go through the notes and see how these people, the Census Bureau, the government organizations, gather this information that people trade on, information that is important for interest rates, everything, the global economy, it's laughable. Okay, they still fax people. They call people on their landlines. Who the hell uses a landline anymore? Who answers their landlines? I don't know. And they mail people. It's absurd. Those are the three ways that they gather this information. And they gather the information from such a small amount of people. We have 350 million people, 250 million in the workforce. And if you get into notes, they talked about 600,000 people, barely. They talked to a few thousand businesses. There's 3 million small businesses. They're not even talking to 1% of the businesses. So all these surveys are just outdated. They don't mean, and these numbers mean nothing, and they haven't meant anything for quite some time. And the revisions are the revisions. They constantly are being revised lower or higher, whatever, and they're just a nightmare. Okay, so I'm going to go through some stuff. These are stuff that I've showed in the past, but no one cares about my. There's 1,200 people. Okay, there should be 50,000 people listening to me, because I've told you guys before. Okay, here are some stuff that I've showed you before. By the way, this information now is almost impossible to get. And by the way, another thing before I go through this, they talked about in the newspapers the participation rates, right? Participation rates in the surveys. That is totally wrong. Participation rates is if you look at the data, it's participation rates in the job market. Not participation in the surveys. 60%. I wish it was 60%. You're going to see it significantly lower. So when you hear people talk about, the participation rate, that's in the job markets. It has nothing to do with these surveys. Nothing to do with it. Because the real data is even worse. Look at the response rates. Again, these are people responding to these ridiculous surveys that are sent out by fax, that are called, and by regular mail. Okay? They used to be 75, 80%, going back 30 years. Look at it now. And this is nothing. This is just one factor. It gets even worse. Okay? This is payroll surveys. Payroll surveys. I mean, I don't know what happened in 2002, 2004. They obviously had much higher participate or response rates, but look at the response rates, and it's even lower now in 2025. mean, nobody is answering these surveys. So how can these numbers mean anything? But they do. They're causing interest rates to move. They're causing the stock market to go up and down, and they're worthless. Okay? And look at this. This should be shocking to you. Shocking. These are survey response rates about population. This is the Census Bureau. There's nobody responding to these things. Employment statistics, they're now below 40%. Employment cost index. Look, these numbers we're getting from the government have been worthless for years, and they get worse, and they're getting worse. Job opening. This is again, there is less than 30% of the people or the businesses, people that get these surveys that are responding. So how on God's green earth can these numbers mean anything to anyone? And just finally, to put it in perspective, okay, on a chart, it just 10 trends lower. The JOLTS with the job, look at this. It's in the high 20s. That means it's worthless, folks. Worthless. Anything less than 60 to 70% participation rate is absolutely worthless, because the number of people that are responding to these surveys is so low that I read that they have these error rates like 90%. I mean, this person who's been overseeing this should have been fired years ago. Trump was 100% right of firing this person, not for the reasons he did. This wasn't any kind of manipulation. This wasn't partisan. It's just that here's a person that's been in that job, government employee, probably not coming in every day, who's been doing the same thing over and over again, doesn't ever want to change. No one in the government wants to make any change. There's no technology. There's nothing. And so they just continue with the status quo. And the status quo is a joke. It's an absolute joke. And so with being the most technological, innovative country ever in the history of the entire world, the existence, we have very important data that we're gathering with methods that are 30, 40 years old. That's the problem. So was Trump right to fire this person? 100%. For the reasons? No. Trump does things, sometimes, most of the time he does things, doesn't even know what he's doing, but ends up to be right. And this was the right move. Now, who he puts in his place, we don't know. There's a few people that are, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. As long as that person looks at what I just showed you, okay, looks at these response rates and says, we cannot continue with this any longer. We need to improve the way we do things, both in the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Census Bureau. Can no longer continue to do things, send people faxes, calling landlines, and sending out mail. Not email, regular mail. So the bottom line is that these numbers that move the markets, that have been moving the markets for years, are bogus. And I've been saying that for as long as I've been doing these videos, which isn't that long. And nobody watches my videos, so who cares? So finally, I'm going to beg you guys, like, comment, whatever, because I'm losing faith that anyone even cares what I'm saying. And so end of story. Finally, what I've been saying is coming true, coming to pass. Finally, we're getting a change. Hopefully, we get someone who can put in some technology, some artificial intelligence, and get information that makes sense, because you cannot continue as an economist, as a strategist, stock market person, no matter what, your financial participant, you want to call yourself, continue to make investment decisions on faulty data. And this data is faulty. It's not corrupt. No, I'm sorry, it's not corrupt. You may think it is, but it's not. It's not partisan. It's just horrible, horrible data collection and response rates. And it's obvious why. So if you're trading on this data, if you're investing on this data, all I could tell you is, as I say after every video, be careful out there.